सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणि नमोस्तुते.
Sri Devi Bhagavatam, Skanda 1, Part E, covers the chapters from 18 to 20. That is on Janaka's instructions to Sukadeva and on Sukha's marriage and Vyâsa doing his duties. Chapter 18 on Janaka's giving instructions on truth to Sukadeva. Sukadeva Sutta said, Maharishis, when the king Janaka heard of the arrival of Sukadeva, the son of his guru, he took his priest before him and attended by his ministers came before him in pure spirit. Then he duly worshipped Sukha, offering him padya, agraha and an excellent seat and a cow yielding milk, and then inquired about his welfare. Sukadeva accepted duly all the things offered by the king and informed him of his well-being and asked the king in return of his welfare and took his seat at ease on the asana. The king Janaka asked the son of Vyâsa, full of peace, O Mahabhaga, Muni, Sattvama, you are devoid of any attachment and you have no desires. May I inquire why such a person as your honored self has come to me? Sukadeva said, O great king, my father told me thus, O child, take a wife, for the householder's life is the best of all the ashramas. But I thought that will be the source of my bondage to this world, and therefore did not obey his word, though he was my highest guru. He then again said to me, if one takes a household life, it does not at once follow that he will be held in bondage. Yet I did not agree to that. Then the Muni, thinking me still to be in some doubt, spoke this word of advice to me. O son, do not be sorry. Go to Mithila and have your doubts solved. There my disciple, the king Janaka, is governing his kingdom without any source of danger. He is Jiva Mukta, that is liberated while living, and he is free from the ideas of body governing his kingdom. So everybody knows, when that royal sage Janaka, though governing his kingdom, is not seen tied up by Maya, then, O son, why are you afraid of this samsara when you are living this forest life? Therefore, O Mahabhaga, trust me and marry, and in case you doubt very much, then go and see the king Janaka, ask him and remove your doubts. He will certainly solve your doubts. But, O son, after hearing him, come again quickly to me. O king, when my father spoke thus, by his permission I have come now to your capital. O king, I do not want anything save moksha. Therefore, O sinless one, kindly advise what am I to do so that I attain moksha. O Lord of Kings, practicing asceticism, going to the holy places of pilgrimage, holding vratas, performing sacrifices, studying the Vedas, or earning wisdom, whatever is the cause of moksha, kindly say that. Hearing this, Janaka said, O son of my guru, I am telling what ought to be done by the Brahmanas, following the path of moksha. Listen, after having the holy thread, a Brahmin should live in the house of his guru to study the Vedas, the Vedantas, and pay the dakshina to the guru according to rules. He will then return home and marry and enter into the householder's life. He should lead a life of contentment. be free from desires, sinless and truthful, and earn his livelihood with a pure heart and according to the sanction of justice and conscience. He is to perform the Agnihotra and other sacrifices, and after getting sons and grandsons, he is to leave his wife under the care of his son and then to take the life of Vanaprastha. That Brahman, the knower of Dharma, must practice tapasya and become master of his 6 passions, enemies, and when he gets disgusted with the world and when the vairagya, dispassion, will arise within him, he would enter into the 4th ashrama. For the man is first to enter into the householder's life, and when he will be quite dispassionate towards the world, he will then have a right to take the ashrama of sannyasa. A course contrary to this can never entitle one to the ashrama of sannyasa. This is the beneficial word of the Vedas, and it must hold true. It cannot be false. This is my firm belief. O Sukha, in the Vedas are mentioned 48 samskaras, out of which the learned Mahatmas have reserved 40 samskaras for the householders and the last 8 samskaras, samadhanam, for the sannyasin. And this good usage is heard to come down from very ancient times. A Brahman ought to complete his previous ashrama successfully and then enter into the succeeding ashrama. Sukha said, if the pure vairagya arising out of knowledge and wisdom already arises before taking to the grahastha ashrama, is it still necessary to pass through householder's life, vanaprastha, or is one entitled then to take up at once the sannyasa ashrama, quit everything and reside in the forest? Janaka said, oh, one giving honor to the Shastras and Gurus, though the powerful passions seem to be under control in the period of unripened yoga, yet one ought not to trust them, for it is generally seen many imperfect yogins find themselves disturbed by one or other of the senses. Oh, one giving honor to the Shastras and Gurus, though the powerful passions seem to be under control in the period of unripened yoga, yet one ought not to trust them, for it is generally seen many imperfect yogins find themselves disturbed by one or the other of the senses. If the mind of one who has already entered into the sannyasa ashrama gets perturbed in his course, then how can he, you can see this for yourself, satisfy desires of eating good things, sleeping nicely, seeing his son, or wishing any other desires, knowing them to lead to his degradation? He is then in a very serious state. The net of desires is very difficult to be conquered by men that can never die out. Therefore, to put an end to them, the advice is to cut them slowly and slowly. He who sleeps on an elevated place has the danger of tumbling down, but one who sleeps in a low place has no such danger. So any man who has once taken the highest dharma, sannyasa, and if he be fallen, then he never gets hold of the real track. As an ant begins to get from the root of tree and by gets to the topmost part of the branches, so human beings go by degrees from one ashram to another till they go to the highest. Then and then only they are able to get easily their desired truth. The birds, without anticipating any danger, get up to the skies very quickly, and soon they get tired and cannot go to their desired place, but the ant goes with rest to its desired place. This mind is very difficult to be controlled. For this reason, the men of unripened minds cannot conquer it all at once, and are advised to conquer it by and by, observing the laws of one ashrama after another. See also if anybody remaining in his household life be of a quiet temper and of good intellect, and if he takes success and failure in the same life, and be not elated in times of pleasure, and not depressed in times of pain, and does his duty for duty's sake without troubling his mind with cares and anxieties, then that householder acquires pure happiness by the realization of his self and acquires moksha. There is no manner of doubt in this, O sinless one. See, I am liberated while living, though I am engaged in preserving kingdom. If any source of pain or pleasure arises, I am not in any way affected by them. As I will attain in the end Videha Mukti, though I am always wandering at my free will, enjoying various things as I like, and do various things as it pleases me. So you can do your duties and then be liberated in the end. O son of my Guru, when this material world, the cause of all error according to the Vedanta Shastras, is simply an object of sight, then how can this material substance, an object of sight, be the source of bondage to the Atman, the Self? O Brahman, though the five material elements can be seen, their qualities or gunas can be known only by inference, so the Self is to be inferred. It can never be an object of sight, and also this Self, known by inference, changeless and without any impurity or stain, can never be bound by the visible, changeful material thing. O Brahman, this impure heart is the source of all pleasure and pain. So when the heart becomes pure and quiet, all the things then become fully pure, O Brahmana. If going often and often to all tirthas and bathing there do not make one's heart pure and holy, then all one's troubles are taken in vain. O destroyer of enemies, it is the mind that is the cause of bondage or freedom, and not the body, nor the jivatma, nor the senses. The self or Atman is always pure consciousness and is ever free, so, truly speaking, it can never be bound. Bondage and freedom reside in the mind. So when the mind gets peace, the bondage of samsara is also at the end. He is an enemy, he is a friend. He is neither an enemy nor friend. All these different thoughts reside in the mind and arise out of duality. How can the ideas of differences exist when everything has become all one pervading self? Jiva is Brahma. I am that Brahma, nothing else. There is nothing to be discussed here. It is owing to the dualities that monoism appears not clear, and differences between Jiva and Brahma arise. O Mahabhaga, this difference is due to avidya, and by which this difference vanishes, that is termed vidya. This difference between vidya and avidya ought to be always kept in view by that are cleverer. How can the pleasure from the cooling effect of the shadow be felt if the heating effect of the rays of the sun be not previously experienced? So how vidya is to be experienced if avidya be not felt before? Sattva, Rajasa, and Tamo gunas reside naturally in things made of gunas, and the five principal elements reside naturally in substances made up of elements. So the senses reside naturally in their own forms. So how can there be any stain to the Atman which is unattached? Yet to teach humanity, the high-souled persons preserve always with greatest care the respect of the Vedas. If they do not do this, then, O sinless one, the ignorant persons would act lawlessly according to their wishes, like the Charvakas, and Dharma will become extinct. When Dharma will become extinct, the Varnas ashrama will gradually die out. So the well-wishers should always follow the path of the Vedas. Sukadeva said, O king, I have now heard all that you have said. Still my doubt remains. It is not solved. O king, in the dharma of the Vedas, there is himsa, and we hear that there is much of adharma in the above himsa. So how can the dharma of the Vedas give moksha? O king, one can see before one's eyes that the drinking of soma rasa, the killing of animals, the eating of fish and flesh, and so are advised in the Vedas, so much so that in the sacrificial ceremony named Sautramana, the rule of drinking wine and many other vratas are clearly mentioned. Even gambling is advised in the Vedas. So how can mukti be obtained by following the Veda dharma? It is heard that in ancient times there was a great king named Sasavindu, very religious, truthful, and performing sacrifices, very liberal. He protected the virtuous and chastised those that were wicked and going astray. He performed many yajnas, where many cows and sheep were sacrificed according to the rules of the Vedas, and abundant dakshinas were presented to everyone that performed their parts in the sacrifice. In these sacrifices, the hides of the cows that were sacrificed as victims were heaped to such an enormous extent that they looked like a second Vindhyachal mountain. Then the rains fell, and the dirty water coming out of that enormous heap of skins flowed down and gave rise to a river which was thence called the Charamavati river. And what a wonder! That cruel king left behind him an ineffable fame and went to heavens. Whatever it may be, it can never come to my head that I should perform the Veda Dharma filled with so many acts of killing and cruelties. Again, when the man finds pleasure in sexual intercourses, and when they do not have that intercourse, they experience pain. How can you expect such persons to attain liberation? Janaka said, the killing of animals in a sacrificial ceremony is not killing. It is known as ahimsa, for that himsa is not from any selfish attachment. Therefore, when there is no such sacrifice, and the animals are killed out of selfish attachment, then that is real himsa. There is no other opinion in this. Smoke arises from a fire when fuels are placed in it, and smoke is not seen when no fuel is added. So, Muni Sattva, the himsa as prescribed in the Vedas, is free from all blemishes, selfish attachment, and therefore it is unblameable. So it follows the himsa committed by persons attached to objects is the real himsa that can be blamed, but the himsa of those persons who have no desires is not that sort of himsa. Therefore the learned men that how the Vedas declare that the himsa done by the dispassionate person with their hearts free from egoism is no himsa done at all. O Dvija, Really speaking, the killing of animals done by the householder attached to senses and their objects and done under their impulses can be taken into account as a real act of killing. But, O Mahabhaga, of those whose hearts are not attached to anything of those self controlled persons desirous of moksha, if they do an act of himsa out of a sense of duty, with no desires of fruits and with their hearts free from egoism, that can never be reckoned as a real act of killing. Thus ends the 18th chapter of the first Skanda on Janaka's giving instructions on truth to Sukadeva in the Mahapurana of Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. Chapter 19 on the description of the marriage of Sukha. Sri Sukha said, O king, this great doubt arises in my mind how a man can be free from desires and the rewards of their actions when he lives in the midst of this samsara that is all full of maya. When even by the acquiring of wisdom of the Shastras and the capability to judge which is real and which is unreal, the delusion of the mind is not dispelled until one resorts to the practice of the yoga. How then can freedom from desires and liberation come to a householder? The darkness of a room is not destroyed by the mere mention of lamp light, so the wisdom acquired by reading these shastras can never dispel the darkness of delusion that reigns in the inside of a man. O Lion of Kings, if one wants moksha, one ought not to commit any act of revenge or injury or killing any being. How can this be possible to a householder? Your desires to acquire wealth, to enjoy royal pleasures, and to get victory in battle have not yet subsided. How then can you be a Jivan Mukta? O king, you consider yet a thief and a saint you consider a man as your relative or other than that. These ideas have not vanished from you. How then can you be called Videha, O king? You feel the pungent, bitter, astringent, sour taste and the like. You feel good and have bad rasas respectively. You become glad when success comes to you, and you feel sorrow when you happen to fail, and you experience the three states, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as an ordinary man does. How then can you be called to attain the Turiya, the fourth state? May I ask whether you cherish this idea that all these infantries, cavalries, chariots, and that all these elephants are mine? I am the lord of all the wealth and things. Or whether you do not cherish this idea, O king, I think you eat sweet and good things and at times feel pleasure and other times feel pain. So, O king, how can you look on the garlands of flowers and the snake as one and the same? O king, he who is a Mukta Purusha considers a lump of earth, a piece of stone, and gold as of one and the same value. He considers everything to be the same, Atman, and does good to all the beings. Whatever that may be, I do not find any pleasure at present with house, wife, or with anything in fact. What my heart's desire is that I roam alone always without any desires in my heart. Therefore, I like not to have any companion, to be free from any attachment, and to be peaceful and calm. I do not wish to accept anything from anybody. I will forego all pleasures and pains from cold, warmth, etc., and I will sustain my life on roots, fruits, and leaves. obtained without any effort, and will roam as I like a deer. When I have not got the least attachment to the household life, and when I am beyond all the attributes, what necessary have I then of house, wealth, or a suitable wife? And when you think of various things with loving heart and yet say that you are a Jivan Mukta, that is nothing but a mere vanity of yours. O King, when you think and become anxious about your enemies, about your wealth, or sometimes about your army, how then can you be said to be free from course? What more can be said than the fact that many munis, eating moderately and controlling their senses and leading an anchorite's life and knowing the unreality of the world, fall victims to the Maya? Then what need there is to talk of you, O King? Know that the hereditary title Videha to your line of kings indicates downright insincerity. Nothing can be other than this as the name Vidyadhara, holder of knowledge, is applied to an illiterate man, as the name Divakara, son, is given to a born blind man, as the name Lakshmidhara, hold of wealth, is given to even a poor man, as these names are quite useless to me. I have heard that the kings of your family, who were your predecessors, were called Videha in name only and not in deed, O King. In your family there reigned a king named Nimi. Once on a time that royal sage invited his guru Vasishtha to perform a sacrifice. When Vasishtha said, I am already invited by Indra, the lord of the Devas, to perform his sacrifice. So, O King, let me first finish his work. I will then take up your work. Better go on collecting the sacrificial material till that work is complete. Thus saying, Vasishtha went away to perform Indra's sacrifice. On the other hand, the royal sage Nimi selected another priest and made him his guru and began his sacrifice. Hearing all this, Maharishi Vasishtha became angry and cursed him thus, O forsaker of your guru, for the crime of forsaking your guru, let thy body be destroyed today. At this, the royal sage too cursed Vasishtha in his turn, let your body fall off also. Then the bodies of both the persons fell. But, O King, this curiosity came to my mind, how the royal sage, whose body fell before, cursed his own guru afterwards. Janaka said, O Lord of Brahmins, what you have said is, in my opinion, all quite true. Nothing is false. Still here. Now know what my most worshipful Guru Deva has spoken to me is in fact true. You are now intending to quit the company of your father and go to the forest. Well and good. But even then you will undoubtedly have the company of deer. See also that when the five elements, earth, water, air, are present, encompassing everywhere, how then can you expect to be free from all companion? So, O Muni, when you will have to think always of your food, how then can you be said to be free from all cares and all course? Again, even if you go to the forest, you will have to think there also for your staff, dear king. So you can take my case too of thinking of my kingdom. Whether I think or not, as you are thinking of staff, deer skin, your heart is tainted with vikalpa jnana, that is knowledge of doubt and duality, and therefore you have come here from a far off country. But my heart is free from any such doubt, and I am remaining quite cheerful here. O best of Brahmins, I have got no doubt whatsoever on any point, and therefore I take my food and go to sleep with great pleasure. I am not bound up by this world. This idea gives me constant happiness of the highest degree, but you consider that you are bound and therefore you feel always constant pain. So leave off your idea that you are bound and be happy. This body is mine. This knowledge leads to my bondage, and this body is not mine. This knowledge leads to freedom. So know this verily that all this wealth, kingdom are not mine. Suta said. Hearing these words of the royal sage, Sukadeva became exceedingly glad and pronounced, Sadhu, Sadhu, truth sage, indeed a true saint, well said, and went away without any delay to the pleasant ashrama of Vyâsa. Vyâsa too, seeing his son come back, became very glad and embraced him and took the smell of his head and asked about his welfare again and again. Then Sukadeva, all conversant with the Shastras and ever ready in studying the Vedas, sat by the side of his father with an enlightened mind in his lovely ashrama and thinking of the state of the high-souled Janaka in his kingdom, began to feel the highest peace. Though Sukha adopted the path of yoga, yet he married the daughter of a Muni named Vivari, very beautiful, fortunate, enhancing the glory of her father's family. Then were born first the 4 sons named Krishna, Gauraprabha, Bhuri, and Deva Ruta out of the sperm of Sukha and the ovum of Vivari, and next a daughter was born named Kirti of them. Vyasa's son Sukha, endowed with the fire of asceticism, gave the daughter Kirti in marriage in due time with the high-souled Anuha, the son of Vibharaja. As time passed on, a son was born of the womb of Kirti and the sperm of Anuha, a son who became the powerful king Brahmadatta, the knower of Brahma, and endowed with wealth and prosperity. Some time elapsed when Anuha, the son-in-law of Sukadeva, getting from Narada the Mahavija and the highest knowledge of yoga, handed over his kingdom to his son and went to the hermitage of Vadrika and became liberated. The Devarishi Narada gave him the mantra, the Vija of Maya, and by the influence of that mantra and by the grace of Devi, the knowledge of the Supreme Brahma arose in him without any obstacle and gave him liberation. On the other hand, Sukadeva, always averse to any company, left his father and went to the beautiful mountain Kailasha. He began to meditate on the unmoving Brahma and thus remained there. After some time, the highly energetic Sukadeva attained Siddhi, Anima, Laghima, that he had supernatural powers, rose up high in the air from the top of the mountain and began to roam there, and then he appeared like a second sun. When Sukha arose from the peak, it served into 2 and various ominous signs became visible. When Sukadeva, appearing like a second sun, by the blazing brilliancy of his body, suddenly vanished away like air and became diluted in the Paramatman, entering into everything and became invisible. Then the Devarishis began to chant hymns to him. On the other hand, Vyasadeva became very much distressed with the separation from his son and cried out frequently, "O my son, alas, my son, where are you? You have gone," and went to the summit of the mountain where Sukha did go and wept bitterly. Then Sukadeva, who was then residing as the Paramatman, the internal controller of all the beings and with all the beings, knowing Vyasadeva as very much fatigued, distressed and crying, spoke out as an echo from the mountains and trees thus, "O father, there is no difference between you and me. considered in the light of Atman, then why are you weeping for me? Even today, the echo is clearly heard. Seeing Vyasadeva grieved very much for the separation from his son and always crying, O my son, O my son. Bhagavan Maheshwara came there and consoled him, saying, O Vyasadeva, your son is the foremost of the yogis. He has attained the highest state, so very rare to the ordinary persons that are not self-controlled. So do not be sorry any more, O sinless one. When you have realized the Brahma Tattva, then you ought not to express any sorrow for your Sukha, who is now stationed in that Brahman. Your fame is now unrivaled, only on account of your having got a son like him. Vyasadeva said, O Lord of the Devas, O Lord of the world, what am I to do now? My grief does not quit my heart anyhow or other. My eyes are as yet satisfied in seeing my son. They like still to see the sun. Hearing these sorrowful words of Vyasa, Bhagavan Mahadeva said, O Muni Sardula, I grant this boon to you, that you will see the form of your son abiding in shadow, very beautiful by the side of you. O destroyer of enemies, now abandon your grief by seeing that shadow form of your son. When Bhagavan Maheshwara said so, Vyasa began to see the bright shade form of his son. Granting thus the boon, Bhagavan Mahadeva vanished then and there. When he vanished away, Vyasa became very much distressed with sorrow of the bereavement of his son and returned with heavy heart to his own hermitage. Thus ends the 19th chapter of the first Skanda on the description of marriage of Shukadeva in Mahapurana. Chapter 20, the last chapter of the Skanda 1, on Vyasa doing his duties. The Rishi said, O Suta, what did Veda Vyasa do when the highest yogi Sukadeva acquired all the excellent supernatural powers? Kindly describe all these in detail. Hearing this question, Suta spoke, O Rishis, Vyasa already had with him many disciples, Asta, Devala, Vaishapayana, Jayamani, Sumantu and others, all engaged in the study of the Vedas. After their studies were over, they all went out to propagate Dharma on the earth. Then Vyasa, seeing that the disciples went to the earth and his son Sukadeva had got to the next world, became very much distressed with sorrow and wanted to go to some other place. He then decided to go to his birthplace and went to the banks of Ganges, and there remembered his auspicious mother Satyavati, forsaken by him before, very sorrowful and the daughter of the fisherman. He then quitted that heaven-like mountain, the source of all happiness, and came to his own birthplace. Reaching the island where he was born, he inquired the whereabouts of the beautiful faced, the fisherman's daughter, as well the wife of a king. The fisherman replied that their king had given her in marriage to the king Santanu. Then the king of fishermen, seeing Vyasa there, gladly worshipped him and gave him a cordial welcome and spoke with folded palms. Thus, O Muni, when I have become so fortunate as to see you, rare even to the Devas, then my birth has been sanctified today, and you have purified my family. O Brahmin, kindly say what for you have come. My wife's son and all my riches and every other thing that I have are at your disposal. Thus, hearing the history of his mother Satyavati, Vyasa erected an ashrama on the beautiful banks of the river Saraswati and remained there in tapasya with an enlightened mind. Some time elapsed when the highly energetic Santanu got through his wife Satyavati 2 sons. Vyasadeva considered them as his 2 brothers and became very glad. though he himself used to live in the forest. The first son of the king Santanu was Chitrangada, endowed with all auspicious qualities, exceedingly beautiful, and tormenting his foes. The son was Vichitravirya. He was endowed with all qualities. The king Santanu became very happy to get these children. Santanu had one son before through his wife Ganga. He was a great hero and very powerful, and the two sons of Satyavati were equally powerful. The high-souled Santanu, now seeing the three sons, all endowed with all auspicious qualities, began to think that the Devas were incapable to defeat him. After some time, the religious Santanu quitted his own out body as a man quits his clothes worn out in due time. After the king Santanu had ascended the heaven, the energetic Bhishma performed duly his funeral obsequies and gave various things in charity to the Brahmins. He did not accept the kingdom himself, but placed Chitrangada on the throne and became known by the name of Devavrata, truthful in all like the Devas. The pure-souled Chitrangada, born of Satyavati, became so much powerful by sheer force of his arms and became so great a hero that the enemies felt endless troubles. Now once on an occasion, the greatly powerful Chitrangada, surrounded by a great army, went on an hunting excursion to the forest in quest of Ruru deer. When the Gandharva Chitrangada, seeing the king on the way, alighted from his chariot. O ascetics, a fierce battle then ensued for 3 years on that sacred and wide expanse Kurukshetra between the two heroes, both equally powerful. In the battle, the king Chitrangada, son of Santanu, was slain by the Gandharva Chitrangada and went up to heavens. Bhishma, born of the womb of Ganga, hearing the above news, expressed his sorrow and being surrounded by the ministers, completed all the funeral obsequies and installed Vichitravirya on the throne. The beautiful Satyavati became very much agitated by the death of her son, but then, when the ministers and the household spiritual teachers consoled her, she became glad when she saw her youngest son became king. Vyâsa Deva too felt himself glad to hear that his youngest brother had been made king. After some time, when all the auspicious Satyavati's son Vichitravirya attains his youth, Bhishma began to think of his marriage. At this time, the king of Kashi called an assembly, Swayamvara, for the marriage of his 3 daughters, endowed with all auspicious qualities, at one and the same time. Thousands and thousands of kings and princes from various countries were invited there in the assembly and worshipped duly. They went and decorated the hall. At that time, the highly energetic fiery Bhishma alone, mounting on his chariot, attacked the infantry and cavalry and defeated all the kings assembled there, and carried away all the 3 daughters of Kashi Raja and took them to Hastinapur. Bhishma behaved towards those 3 daughters as if they were mothers, sisters, and daughters, and informed Satyavati without any delay of everything that had happened. Then he called for the astrologers and Brahmins versed in the Vedas and inquired about the auspicious day for their marriage. When the day was fixed and when every preparation was made, the religious Bhishma wanted Vichitravirya to marry them. At this time, the eldest daughter, Beautiful Eyed, spoke out modestly to the Ganga's son Bhishma. O Ganga's son, the illustrious son of your family and the best of the Kurus, you are the best knower of Dharma. Therefore, what more shall I say to you? In the Swayamvara assembly, I mentally selected Salva, and it struck me that he too looked on me with a very loving heart towards me. So, O tormentor of foes, now do that what is fit for that sacred family. O Ganga's son, not only you are extraordinarily powerful, but you are also the foremost of the religious. Salva mentally wanted to marry me. Now do you as you like. When the eldest daughter spoke thus, Bhishma asked the aged Brahmanas, ministers, and his mother, what ought to be done now? And taking the opinions of all, spoke to that daughter, O beautiful one, you can go wherever you like. Thus saying, Bhishma released her. Then the beautiful daughter of Kashiraja went to the house of Salvaraj and expressed to him her heart's desire. O great king, knowing me attached to yourself, Bhishma has quitted me according to the laws of Dharma. I have therefore come to you now. Marry me. O best of the kings, I will be your legal wife. For already I used to think you as my husband, and you too must have thought me your wife. Salva replied as follows: O beautiful one, when Bhishma caught hold of your arm before me and took you to his chariot, then I won't marry you. You can say yourself what intelligent man can marry a woman touched by another. Therefore I won't marry you. Though Bhishma has quitted you in the light of another. Hearing these words of Salva, the daughter of Kashiraja wept bitterly, yet Salva quitted her. Therefore, finding no other way, she went back to Bhishma weeping and said as follows: O great warrior, Salva did not consent to marry me, as you first took me to the chariot and afterwards left me. So, O Mahabhaga, you better look to Dharma and marry me. As you know best what is Dharma, if you do not marry me, I will certainly quit my life. Hearing her words, Bhishma said, O beautiful one, how can I accept you when your mind has become attached towards another? So, O fair one, you better go back soon to your own father with a calm, clear mind. When Bhishma said this, that daughter of Kashiraja did not go back out of sheer shame to her father's house, but went to a forest and in a greatly solitary place of pilgrimage began to practice asceticism. Now the other two daughters of Kashiraj, beautiful and all auspicious Ambika and Ambalika, became the wives of the king Vichitravirya. Thus the powerful king Vichitravirya began to enjoy various pleasures in the palace and in the gardens, and thus passed his time. For full 9 years the king Vichitravirya enjoyed the sexual pleasures and became attacked with consumption and fell into the jaws of death. Hearing the death news of her son Vichitravirya, Satyavati became very sorry and, surrounded by her ministers, performed his funeral obsequies. Then she spoke privately to Bhishma with a grievous heart, O highly fortunately son, now you better govern your father's kingdom and see that the family of Yayati does not become extinct. So better take your brother's wife and try your best to continue your family line. Bhishma then said, O mother, did you not hear of the promise that I already made before my father? So I cannot ever marry and govern the kingdom. Hearing these words of Bhishma, Satyavati became anxious. She began to think as follows: how now the continuity of the family be kept? And it is not advisable to remain idle when the kingdom has become kingless. No happiness can be derived in this state. Thus thinking, she became exceedingly distressed. Then the Ganga's son Bhishma spoke to her, O respected one, do not worry your mind with care. Now take steps so as to secure a son from Vichitravirya's wife. Call some best Brahmin born of a good family and unite him with Vichitravirya's wife. There is no fault, as far as I know, in doing thus to keep up the family line. O sweet smiling one, thus having gotten the grandson, give him this kingdom. I will also obey his commands. Hearing these reasonable words of Bhishma, Satyavati remembered her own son This sinless Vyâsa Deva, who was born to her during her virginity. As soon as Vyasa was remembered, he, the great ascetic and effulgent like the sun, came there and bowed down to his mother. The highly energetic Vyasa was then worshipped duly by Bhishma and welcomed by Satyavati and began to rest there like a smokeless fire. The mother Satyavati then spoke to the chief Muni. O son, now procreate a beautiful son from your sperm and the womb of Vichitravirya's wife. Hearing the mother's word, Vyasa considered them as Veda's injunctions and thought they must be obeyed and promised before her that he must obey and fulfill her words. He remained there waiting for the menstruation period. When the due period of menstruation arrived, Ambika bathed and had a sexual intercourse with Vyasa and begot a very powerful son, but a blind one, since she closed her eyes at the sight of Vyasa during her intercourse. Seeing the son born blind, Satyavati became exceedingly sorry. She then asked her other son's wife, Go soon and get a son born of you in the aforesaid manner. When the menstruation period arrived, Ambalika during the night time went to Vyasa and mixed and became pregnant. In due time a son was born. That child became a very pale color, so Satyavati thought the new child too unfit for the kingdom. Therefore at the end of the year again asked her son's wife Ambalika to go to Vyasa. She asked Vyasa also for the same purpose and sent Ambalika to his bedroom. But Ambalika became afraid and could not go herself, but sent her maid servant for the purpose. Thus from the womb of the maid servant the high-souled Vidura was born, having Brahma's parts of the most auspicious towards all. Thus Vyasa begot 3 very powerful sons, Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidura, for the continuity of the family line. O sinless Maharishis, thus I have described to you how my Guru Vyasadeva, who knows well and the dharmas, kept up the continuity of his family, and how he begot sons in the wombs of his brother Vichitravirya's wives, according to the laws of dharma, to keep up a family. Thus ends the 20th chapter of the Skanda, as well as the first Skanda on Vyasa doing his duties in the Mahapurana, Sri Devi Bhagavatam.
न मन्त्रं नो यन्त्रं तदपि च न जाने स्तुतिमहो न चाह्वानं ध्यानं तदपि च न जाने स्तुतिकथाः न जाने मुद्रास्ते तदपि च न जाने विलपनं परं जाने मातः तदनुसरणं क्लेशहरणम्